on site at the Dunkin' Donuts Park on Monday night. The SHS Unified Sports Student Athletes, Peer Athletes, will host a CIAC track and field meet on Wednesday, June 1st at 3 p.m. at the SHS Track and Field facility at the Fontana Turf Field Stadium Complex. This event replaces the Unified Sport Meet postponed due to inclement weather last week at SHS. All 9 SHS spring sports teams are on pace to qualify for CIAC post-season state championship competitions led by the Blue Knights softball team, which is the 2-time defending CIAC Class L champions. The team is 14-1 on the season, heading into tomorrow's game versus Simsbury, which was named yesterday's Channel 3 Game of the Week. Overall, the SHS softball program has won 19 state championships, tied with 2 other high schools in the nation for the most state championships all time in high school girls softball in the USA. Now I have the communications from other schools in the district. Kennedy had their American essay contest and reported that students in Mrs. Perry's 6th grade social studies class were encouraged to enter an essay writing contest sponsored by our local American Legion Auxiliary during the Kennedy Intervention block time. The topic of the contest was, how can we support families who provide care to their veterans? 50 students entered the contest from Team 6A. There were 6 awards granted at the town level, and those taking the top 3 prizes all emerged from JFK. In 3rd place, Desara Shabani. In 2nd place, Ben Bollier. And taking the 1st place, Nora Machino. Not only did Nora take the top award at the town level, Nora's submission went on to the state level where she won the top spot once again. And then she is now moving forward to the national contest. Also from Kennedy, Katie Soltis, 6th grade science teacher, was awarded a grant which will fund a study tour to Brussels and Luxembourg this summer, where she will learn about the role the European Union plays in the fight against the global climate crisis. Upon her return, she anticipates integrating her learning into her curriculum lessons and sharing her experiences with her department colleagues.
And I'll finish off the school communication. From DePaulo, all 8th grade math classes partook in a week of Smarter Balanced assessment preparation last week. All grade 8 students renewed material that they've learned throughout the school year to refresh their math skills. The last 2 days, students and their partners completed head-to-head against other groups to show off everything that they have learned. As well as the Southampton Police Resource Officer Laporte visited DePaulo on Tuesday to give a presentation to all students on social media safety. Students learn about the importance of properly using a variety of apps. The Darnowski PTO sponsored their first annual carnival with a large audience. This week, Darnowski had their kindergarten orientation as well, where incoming kindergarten students took a bus ride and went all the way up to the library for a story with their parents. And they stayed to talk about the Darnowski school life and expectations for a typical kindergarten day. And that was a lot for tonight, so that's all we have. So, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Does any board members have any questions? It sounds like you had everyone had an outstanding week. Yes, with the awards. Okay. Moving along, communication from the administration. And there is none tonight. Oh, okay. You can come and say that yourself.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We're just addressing some sound in the back. I actually, given the length of our technology presentation tonight, I'm going to defer my time for the administrative report, and I will give a more comprehensive report at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Members of the board, anything you'd like to share? Mr. Darnowski.
I had the opportunity today to try and speak with Zaya, and I know he's probably listening in, and everybody's heard his
voice or lack thereof.
His voice, and I hope he feels better. And I know he wanted to be here, But I will say that I've never heard anybody sound as bad as he does. But anyway, get well, Zaya.
Thank you very much.
His daughter graduates this weekend.
Yes,
he's gotta get
so
better.
you need to get better, Mr. Oshana, so that you can go to the graduation. Does anyone else have anything they want to share?
Just a question. It may have been brought up some meetings back. I know graduation is coming forward pretty quick. Is the caravan still on track to, as part of the planning cycle?
They
Okay.
are,
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
and Frank is leading it. Oh, Mike is
Our
leading
new
it.
high school principal.
Okay, Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay, I would just like to say that we had, I had the pleasure with Mrs. Carmody. We went to the Wall of Honor, and Mr. Medancy last week. Mr. Brown does an amazing job to honor graduates of Southington High School, and it's a very emotional ceremony for not only the people that are being honored, but the people sitting in the audience hearing about the contributions that these people have made through all walks of life, in their business, in their giving back to the community, just the things that they've done. It's amazing. And what they had, we did it in the auditorium this time because it was for 3 years, I believe, 3 years that the honorees, and a couple of the honorees weren't there because they live on the other side of the country and they couldn't fly in. But it was truly, if you get the opportunity to go up to the high school and just check out the plaques and the contributions that those people have made, it really is, it's amazing. And I've always said success for a student, a graduate of Southington High School, is 5 years after they've left our schools. What are they doing? And how are they contributing to society? And these people have given back it's amazing. So if you ever get an opportunity, go up there. And also, while I was there, I went through did you go through the art show?
I did do the art show,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you got to see
I did. It was wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
Wonderful.
My gosh, the talent that we have.
Mrs. Clark, speaking of that Wall of Honor,
Mhm.
I guess maybe I should address this to principal of the high school. It really needs to be maintained. Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot, but they're falling down, the plaques and so forth. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them. Since Mr. Brown has put so much effort into that, we really need to, you saw that, Colleen, right?
Because I saw some of them look like they were being
Falling down,
rearranged or
so we
something,
need-
yeah.
We really need to do something to make that look.
So, Mr. Pepe has an update on that front. Your timing is impeccable.
Okay.
Mr. Pepe does?
I do.
Well, that's wonderful.
So the Wall of Honor is in need of some upkeep, and there's plans to potentially even change the location because we continue to add
Right.
Yeah.
people,
there's-
and it's expanding, and we also want to make it so it's eye level, so that the plaques can be read. And that's something that Mr. Brown and the committee is working on.
Well, thank you. That's very important. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yes. And Mrs. Anastasio, Mr. Medancy, and I had the pleasure to freeze on Saturday night at the back nine with the SCF. It was wonderful being in a room with everyone who was there advocating for education. I have to say, the enthusiasm that the people had that were attending, the donors, the people bidding on the items, all the auction items that they had, both the silent and the live auction. It was wonderful. And it's all going back to our teachers for grants. So it was just a wonderful night. But it was so cold. It was just so cold.
But it was capped off by Mr. Pepe winning the 50-50 raffle.
Yes.
And
I'm sorry, Mr. Pepe was there too.
donating it all back to the
Yes,
SCF,
that was,
which
yes,
was,
which
you know,
is, just,
very nice.
yes. So it was a good time had by all, but we just all froze, and it ended about an hour early, I think, sadly. But in any event, Mr. Sharnowski, do you have, no, you're good? Okay. We will now hear from the public. If anyone wants to speak, if you could sign in, if anybody has signed in and you wish to speak, please come up to the podium and give your name an address, and you have 5 minutes to address the board. I don't see anybody? No? Okay, then we'll move right along. Mr. Medancy, the Elementary Facilities Committee report. Somebody coming?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I was looking at the town access walks and Mr. Romano walked in, so
Oh.
it was good timing.
Okay.
But before we get there, the Elementary Facilities Committee report, let's say 5A. So we had the opportunity to meet on April 25th, and this has kind of been something where it was, obviously there was some momentum early on regarding this project with an original vision of referendum for November of 2022. Once the shakeup occurred up at the state, and they are still in transition, do not have any leadership yet at the DAS. So we are kind of in a hold pattern on that front, but we did use it as a nice opportunity to reset, discuss the pre-referendum work that's been completed, and also what outstanding pre-referendum work needs to be completed. Representatives from the Colliers Group discussed and reconstituted the timelines and actions associated with pre-referendum work leading up to now it's a November 2023 referendum. And for the next meeting, we have placed on the agenda a presentation for the board on the updated enrollment study. And as much as there's been conversation about a decline in enrollment, I think you're going to be surprised by the results of this latest enrollment study and what the projections are for the next 10 years in Southington. So I felt it was important to share that with the full board as we consider our options for the remaining 3 facilities going forward. And then lastly, we discussed state advocacy relative to current transitions occurring at the state level. We are going to hold off on contacting the state until permanent leadership is assigned, but we do want to get some commitments from the state prior to proceeding further with the referendum, especially relative to reimbursement costs associated with either new construction or renovate to new. So we have scheduled our next meeting for June 1st to continue that conversation, and it'll probably be a good meeting to have time-wise, given that we'll just have completed the enrollment update study, so presentation, so we can talk about scenarios from that point.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Medancy?
No, but I just comment, I'm very pleased that we are going to have an update on the enrollment, because all we keep hearing from so many different aspects of the community is that our enrollment is decreasing, and so that'll be very informative for all people in the community.
Yeah, and one of the things I've been able to discuss with some of our other elected boards was that, we are minus 266 students over the past 5 years, but that's over 315 classrooms. So that's not even a net of one less student per classroom, because you don't lose 266 from one grade level at one school or from one building or from one department. And even within those 4 years, there was actually 1 year where we were plus 72 students. So it shows you sometimes the volatility in enrollment relative to a district our size, that you can't really take a small sample size and project that to be a trend. You really need to look out years ahead. And I think one of the things that you'll all recognize is the turnover in housing that's occurred, especially with real estate value and COVID, and people maybe leaving larger, densely populated areas and moving to suburban areas. Coupled with the development that's occurring in town, we're noticing an incline, the trend towards increased enrollment.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Medancy. Next item is the personnel report. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the superintendent's personnel report as submitted.
Discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Anastasia?
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody?
Yes.
Mr. Sharazanowski?
Yes.
Mr. Shanna?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, Zay, it's just painful. I'm so sorry. Okay. Town government communications, the athletic facilities update. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Medancy.
Sure. So, circling back now to the other major project of the district, I had the opportunity to present to Planning and Zoning last week and Board of Finance this past week. Both public hearings occurred at each of those meetings. We were able to present the phasing of the project to both boards, and we received approved motions for both to move on forward with the approval process. The next meeting regarding this referendum project is the town council next week at their meeting, and a similar presentation will occur. We'll talk about the phasing of the project. There'll be a public hearing, and then a motion from the town council whether to move forward or not.
Good, thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
I would just add one more thing that Erica Pocock in Mr. Romano's office has done some great work in building out the website. So if you go to the operations section of the website and to the projects portion of it, it's really been built out in terms of taking what was that large master plan from Castle Blues, improving some of the graphics, some of the timelines, costs associated with the project, and making it a little more user-friendly to access. So I will, as we proceed, I'll share more of that with you as a full board publicly when we're, when we have the time available.
Okay. Thank you. Moving along, we have a motion for policy 4118.4.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve the policy 41184 as recommended by the
Second.
Policy and Personnel Committee.
Okay, Mr. Darrenowski, second.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Blanchard, could you?
Mrs. Anastasia.
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody.
Yes.
Mr. Chesnowski.
Yes.
Mr. Darrenowski.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shannah.
yes,
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mrs. Clark.
Yes. Passes. Okay. The next policy? Do I have a motion? Policy 5145.2.
Move to approve policy 5145.2 as recommended by the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Blanchard?
Mrs. Anastasia.
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody.
Yes.
Mr. Chesnowski.
Yes.
Mr. Darrenowski.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shannah.
yes,
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Passes. And Mr. Williams?
Move to approve policy 6162 revision as recommended by the
Discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Blanchard?
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody.
Yes.
Chesnowski. Darrenowski.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shannah.
yes,
Williams.
Yes.
Mrs. Clark.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. And now on to new business. Town maintained school access sidewalks.
We need a motion for this?
No, we're going to, this is a first read.
First reading.
It's a first read.
And Mr. Romano is going to share with us.
Sure. Good evening, Board of Ed members, administration, students, and Linda. So at the request of the town of Southington's Public Works Committee, the Operations Department performed an audit of the town-maintained school access walks. The town sought confirmation that the Highway Department should continue to remove the snow from all the walks that are currently being addressed by them. We reviewed the locations of the walks, confirmed that they were used by the students, checked if the walks met the parameters of an arterial road, and verified that the sidewalks are within the walking distance to each school. The audit results concluded that the town-maintained school access walks are correct, with the exception of two areas. Mulberry Street is one of these areas. Currently, the students at all three school levels that live between Old Turnpike Road and South End Road are transported by our buses. Those sidewalks are being maintained by the town. The other area is Parkview Drive. It's unclear why this was ever made a town-maintained school access walk. It's not an arterial road. It's a dead-end street. We did a lot of research. We could not find out why it was, but it has been. The traffic is limited to the vehicles in that neighborhood. There's not traffic coming from any other area. So based on this information, the responsibility for the maintenance of the portions of Mulberry Street and Parkview Drive should reside with the residents in those locations. That's my recommendation to the Board of Ed, and I believe the Board of Ed would then turn this over to the Town Council for their review. Any questions?
Need a motion on that?
No, we don't need a motion, but does anyone have,
Do you know how many years has the Parkview,
It's as far back as I could find, which we were in the early 2000s. So I don't know if it was originally done. There was some walks in that area that were removed earlier, so I don't understand why it wasn't removed at that time. We have other areas in town that are within walking distance to schools. As an example, Prospect Street over by Oceana is not a town-maintained sidewalk. That's actually a busier street than Parkview, so I can't make the argument that Parkview should stay on there. I'm sure it's not going to be make the residents happy, but trying to be fair.
So residents have complained, obviously, that they want it shoveled? Is that-
They want to keep. they
No,
wanna
they're
keep the town.
currently being shoveled.
They
It's,
think we
take it
should
away.
be
this was all because the Public Works Committee from the town side had asked us to review all the walks and confirm that they meet the criteria.
Well, that's good. If it does come to fruition that town will no longer maintain those, who's going to notify the residents?
It would be the town.
Okay.
It's the town's responsibility. You may remember back in 2013-ish, there was a bunch that were returned back to the residents. The town will go through, they'll do their own audit and make sure that the sidewalks are in good condition. Assuming they're in good condition, they'll turn them over. If they're not, they'll put it on their plan to make whatever corrections or update it to meet certain codes, the current codes. And then at that time, they'd return it to them. But this really is the town side.
Okay.
I have a question, because I was affected by the last time. Because we did have walkers on South End Road, and now we're responsible. So if it's not an arterial road, which is something that hooks up to, it's not a dead end, in other words.
Correct.
I'm just thinking Deckert Drive, the far end that is behind South End that has that
Yes.
walking path. Who maintains that?
The the path is actually maintained by us.
Okay,
The streets in that area are maintained by the residents,
okay, and that's always been that way?
as long as I've known.
Because it seems like it's a similar situation
Yes.
to Parkview,
Yeah.
except for the fact that they will have to cross South End Road to get into,
Which there's a crossing guard, and South End Road
Yes.
is also considered a town-maintained school access walk.
okay, so they still they'll maintain that and
Yes.
across the street?
Yes,
Okay.
and right up to the school.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, and when I read this, I'm thinking about not every resident on Parkview Drive has a child that goes to South End, obviously.
Correct.
And I'm thinking about the people that aren't going to be shoveling, that will say, well, the town's always taking care of it. What do we do to address that situation?
So there is an ordinance on the books that a resident has to remove the snow from their property. I believe it's 12 hours after a storm ends, which is, is one of the things that Mr. Merdancy and I have to consider when we're talking about it. We look at all the streets. It's unfortunate if a resident doesn't take care of their walk for the children that are walking on Parkview, but it happens throughout the town. Most residents do take care of it within a 24-hour period. And again, we're talking in the morning about, if we've got a foot of snow, that's one of those things we're discussing about whether students should be walking to school through that. So it's not just specific, it wouldn't be specific to Parkview or Mulberry, it's townwide.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of a child walking in the street, that's, obviously, it's a safety issue.
Agreed. And again, we have that everywhere. We have that as an example, the street that I live on, the bus stop for the high school students is 3/4 of a mile away. And a lot of times the neighbors do not shovel their walks. So you have either the students are walking up to the bus stop in the snow or they're walking on the sides of the street. The thought process is it's your neighborhood, it's the residents that live there, everybody knows who the people are, and they're very much more considerate about a child walking onto the side of the street.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Romano. Anybody else have anything? No? We're good? Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Romano. Next item on the agenda is the unaffiliated compensation. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve compensation for unaffiliated staff for their 22-23 school year as proposed by the administration.
Second?
Any discussion? No? We're all good? Mrs. Blanchard?
Mrs. Anastasia.
Yes.
Mrs. Carmody.
Yes.
Mr. Trudowski.
Yes.
Mr. Dearnos.
Yes.
Mr. Oshana.
yes,
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sadowski.
Oops, motion passes. Okay. We've moved 8C, so now it's our technology presentation. Mr.
If you need
Medianti.
to call on me for help,
Oh, Mrs. Carmody, don't go there.
please.
Mrs. Carmody,
Help
don't
you.
go.
We will be sure to tap into your expertise if it's needed. Yeah.
So
Or private
tonight's
person.
presentation is a little bit interactive. So in front of you, you have Chromebooks. And so if you take your fingers and wiggle them on the mouse, you should be able to see the presentation on your screen. And if you don't, we're going to come behind and just make sure that you're all connected before we get started.
Nothing's happening. There we go. How am I feeling today?
I'm going to be counting on Mrs. Carmody
Oh,
to.
yeah, sure.
Here, you do. I'm going to write.
There is an extra one down here.
Oh,
if you
there's
need
an
it.
extra.
Okay, I love Colleen so much.
Yes, how you feeling?
He's close to our
Oh, please. Between the two of us.
tell you.
I have to say, our technology
Our-
department is doing a great job. It's working on my end.
As we
We're
go.
happy. We're in a good mood.
We're fine. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Yes. I need a mouse. I'm so old. Okay.
Okay, so prior to starting our presentation this evening, I just want to take a moment to, introduce kind of the intent behind tonight's presentation. As you all know, in the 2 years since the pandemic, our technology infrastructure has changed drastically, both our network as well as the amount of devices that we've deployed and that we use, as well as how we utilize technology in the classroom. And with that said, our goal tonight would be to give you a real overview, an in-depth interview or overview of both the operational side of technology and the instructional side of technology use in the district, bridged by the network. So, as you look at our TriTech leadership team of Tyler, Jessica, and Rebecca, it's very intentional tonight that we break it out each of those ways with the full intent of trying to inform the board about a portion of our budget that really has exploded over the past few years. And great things are happening, great strides and improvements have been made, but we do think it's really important that the board has a thorough understanding of the current status of our technology use in the district and then potential future needs down the road. So, I'll apologize in advance for the length of tonight's presentation, but we felt it was important to go into real depth for all of you so that you had a nice understanding, and opportunities for questions will be had for anybody who has them at the end of the presentation so that we can keep it moving. Okay? Floor is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Tyler Savage. I'm the network manager for Sunville School System. I'd first say thank you to the board for giving us this time. I do know everyone's busy, and it's, like Steve said, a longer presentation. So first, everyone knows Mr. Steve Medancy, the superintendent. He is the leader of the TriTech leadership team. And then the team is Jessica Poon. She's the information systems manager. Myself, as I introduced myself. And then Rebecca Savicol, who's a digital learning coordinator. So a lot has changed in the last few years, and one of the major things is the amount of devices we have to deal with in the district. So first, we'd like to say a big thank you to the tech staff, because they've worked very hard over the last few years. So for the people who are in attendance, Rick Campbell, please stand up.
Hi,
Thank
Rick.
Hi, Rick.
Tammy Sizz, please stand up. George Roviosa. Oh. And then Manny Chavez. I know everyone else is watching online in the live stream, so let's say thank you to them as well. They've been great. I've been with the department for about 1.5 years now, and they've been very welcoming. So now I'll hand it over to Jess.
Thank you, Tyler. As Tyler said, my name is Jessica Poon. I'm the Information Systems Manager for the district. Now, when you think of the words or see the words information systems, that could mean a lot of different things. So we're going to talk specifically about Southington Public Schools and what it means to be in information systems. So there's 3 major categories. There's the students, the staff, and then the inventory and the help desk side of things. So let's start with students, and here's your first interactive activity. how many students do we currently have enrolled in Southington Public Schools for the 21-22 school year? So if you can just type in your answer, and it has to be numerical, so no letters. It's a number, and you don't have to press enter. It will just submit for you.
Sounds good.
You don't have to hit
You don't
enter.
have to press enter. You
Oh.
can just leave it. It will submit for you.
Okay. I'm guessing.
All right, so we have 5 responses so far. That's great.
That's good. There's only 5 devices working.
Okay, so we have a range of about 6,133 all the way up to 6,200.
We were the closest.
I know.
Well, I haven't given the answer yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it was the 6. Oh, never mind.
So that's the range of what the guesses were.
Okay.
All right, so we have actually about 6,400 students.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we were very close.
If you
over
had
here.
next week's
We were the
presentation, you would have already known that with the,
I'm way
we're a
off.
week early.
Okay.
So Power School is the system that houses all of our student information, and it contains a lot of information. It has demographic information, class enrollments, their attendance records, grades. We track discipline. We set up scheduling for the following school year. We generate report cards and transcripts and letters and everything coming out from that. So it's a lot. It's accessed by our administrative staff in our schools, teachers, and it's actually accessible to our parents and students as well. So parents can log in and track and see how their child is doing in their classes, and students grades 6 through 12 can also log in and keep track of their own work. So that's important for our families and our teachers and our staff to know, but there's also a huge piece that comes with information systems in a public school setting. We have to report a lot of information to the State Department of Education, and it's through a system called PSIS, which is Public School Information System, and every district in Connecticut reports information to the Connecticut State Department of Education. We send up and give them enrollment dates as far as when students register and withdraw, their attendance information throughout the school year, if they are ELL, what their native language is, race and ethnicity, what school they attend, whether or not they're a special ed or 504, if they are on free and reduced lunch, if they have a homeless status, and any other special program they might be associated with. So,
If I could just interject there, the importance of the accuracy of this information and the student information is crucial because it's also tied, as you know, to many of the funding sources that we receive from the state in terms of revenue. So Jessica does a tremendous job, making sure that this is accurate and up to date.
So in addition to the student information, we also report something called TCS. That stands for Teacher Course Student, and it does exactly that. Reports every single course that every student takes, what grade they got, and who taught them that class. So that's all information that we have to report on a yearly basis, all 6,400 students and every single class that they took. So there's a lot of information with that, and there's a lot of data that the state ends up pulling to get information about how our district is doing compared to other districts in the state. New this year, we are also reporting the Seal of Biliteracy. This is an achievement that recognizes public high school graduates who have attained a level of proficiency in English and another language. So we've been providing Seal of Biliteracy that is shown on their transcripts and on their diplomas in the last couple of years, but we will now officially report that up to the state. There is also a report called ED 166. This is the Student Disciplinary Offense Data Collection, and it requires us to report in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, expulsions, anything that involves alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and any bullying incidences as well. This is again required for all districts just to keep track of how students are doing across the state. So this is a small snapshot of some information that is gathered by our department to generate something called a district scorecard. So through the Connecticut's Next Generation Accountability System, there are about 12 indicators that tell the story of how our district does. And that comes out on a site called EdSite, and there's public information that you can get if you look up any school district in Connecticut. So, in addition to PowerSchool, there are many other systems that provide family and student engagement. Many of these systems are integrated with PowerSchool, and they provide information to these systems so that we can keep our student data up to date without anyone having to manually keep them up to date. Oh, I missed a slide. I'm sorry. I'm going to backtrack. We'll talk about CRDC. This is the Civil Rights Data Collection. It's a federal report that is done on a biannual basis. This is also required of us, and there are about 140 data points. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of summary information under different categories, and all those are listed. As you can see, they do cross over with the Connecticut information, so luckily we do have that information, but we do have to also work with other departments to get information such as school finance, teachers and other personnel, and so on and so forth. All right, so now let's talk about family and student engagement. So you know that on our website we have a lot of resources and information for our families and students for anything that they may need. But there's also one system that we use that we've implemented this school year, and it's called Parent Square. It's a communication software where administrative staff and teachers can reach out to their classes or families specifically through text, phone. There's an app, posts, messages. They can communicate directly with the families and ensure, because PowerSchool is up to date, that they're using the most current updated contact information. PowerSchool enrollment is our system that we use to register brand new students into our district. Instead of writing it all out on paper and then having to read the handwriting that comes with it, parents will directly type that in, work with our registrar office to clean that data up, and then automatically deliver that into PowerSchool so that the information is right there ready for our school offices to intake that student and get them ready to learn. It is also a system that we use to keep our information up to date at the beginning of the school year for all of our returning students as well. SNAP is the software our nurses use, and our demographic information on our students also gets fed over along with their photos so that when nurses are seeing the students, they can provide them with the best service that they need. Naviance is used by our grades 6 through 12 students. It's a college, career, and life readiness platform that equips them to get ready with the right skills that they need for their future goals. It also helps us fulfill a state mandate that requires us to provide advisory services to our students. The final system is ClassLink, and this is huge. This is used as a landing page for all our students and staff. It is a SSO platform, which is also called single sign-on. It stores your password so you don't have to write it down. And it will allow you to just log in automatically into the systems that we push out. So we have over 60 apps that we push out to staff and students so that they can right away access the site they need without having a teacher have to go to every single device and type out and then lose instructional time.
Do all students have, are they grade specific or?
So the apps that get pushed out could be grade or school specific depending on what app it is. But there are generic ones, like we have Google is pushed out to all students. PowerSchool is pushed out to grades 6 through 12 because those students are the only ones who have access to it.
Thank you.
Yep. So before we talk about efficiencies within student systems, because we're working towards a lot of efficiencies this school year, why do you think that efficiencies are important? So if you could just click on the image that you see right in your Chromebook, and it will open up a new tab.
Click on the image.
When it comes up, it's going to ask you to log in. Instead, you'll click skip for now. It's in gray, very small at the bottom.
Click what?
Skip for now.
Barely see it. It's all the way at the bottom.
And then close that.
Over here.
And then close the login to Google.
Okay.
Well, how's the bottom?
see Skip, do you? Where's Skip?
And you can use the
Double click
Yeah.
widescreen.
Yeah. Is somebody else adding it, or is that?
We need help.
Where's Skip?
Where do you see Skip?
Oh.
Oh, there we go.
We are just so
Where'd-
advanced.
where's
I
that?
know. Steve gave me lessons ahead of time. I need a mouse. I'm sorry. I'm just.
No, your finger's in the mouse.
I know, but I don't. I like a
We need a
mouse.
touch screen, that's what
I
we need.
that too. I could.
We're
whatever.
learning.
Can I go home?
Are we okay
Is
here?
that what you're gonna type in?
Let me know if you need any help. I'm in.
What did you say?
Mr. Oshana's in.
Okay.
He can
Let me,
help
yeah,
if
let me
needed.
know if you need any help. I'm in.
You're in. You're better than I am, Zaya. Are you okay, Mrs. Carmody? Just
I'm
checking.
fine.
Just checking. Okay.
Mr. Darrenowski's not here.
Okay.
All right, so you can continue to input your efficiencies or why you think they're important in that tab. Once you are done and you want to come back to the presentation, you can just close the presentation with the X in the tab, or you can just navigate over,
Did I
or
break it?
Tyler will come over and assist.
Tyler will come over. Efficiency.
He broke it.
All right, so while he's assisting and we're getting back to the presentation,
All this stuff?
we good?
That's all stuff that people,
That's all stuff my father?
anyone who's logged on.
We are very smart up here. I just want you to know that, okay? In case you didn't.
You're supposed to be.
Oh, I know.
You're confused? Oh, my God.
I know very
The
well.
blind leading the blind over here. Holy.
Are we good?
You wanted to.
Okay.
My-
So
my
student
tutor is failing me.
student system.
Tutor.
Okay. All right.
Tyler, you just
Are we
come
good?
sit up here with us.
We're good now.
Good,
Okay.
We are so good.
So
You
with
understand.
student systems efficiencies, we are working to develop more reports for data checking to make sure that our information that we are reporting to the state is correct. That will help. We have, as you know, 6,400 students, and that's not something that my office can check one at a time. We have all of our 12 schools and secretaries who work very hard to make sure that information is correct. And if we have reports that are generated for them, they can always cross-reference that information. We are also working towards adding more applications into ClassLink to ensure that their data is, to make sure that the students have enough applications to access for instruction. So moving on to staff systems. There's a lot that's been happening since I moved into this role. So with these 4 systems that you see, ALIO, absence management, time and attendance, recruiting and hiring, there's a lot of things that need to happen in the background operationally through our HR department, our payroll department, our business office, and there's a lot of things that happened before that worked, and now we're just looking to move forward and be better with our information. So I told you how many students we have in our district, and I'll just tell you how many staff we have in our district. It's about 1,250 staff. So that's a lot of people that we have to manage. So in ALIO, which is our holding place for all of our staff members, we had limited information about our staff. We had just enough to get them paid, which is really important, so that's good. But we were housing a lot of other information in a spreadsheet, and it wasn't updating necessarily in both places. So why have it in 2 places? Let's get them all into one. So I'm working with the HR department to get that information in so that when Mr. Medancy or Mr. Pepe is asking for this data on our staff members, we can just pull a report and grab that. So that's a work in progress, but we'll get there. Recruiting and hiring is a system that is where our potential candidates and applicants and employees will be coming from. We've cleaned up the application process to make sure that the questions that they're answering apply to the job that they're actually applying to. And we're also working on improving the interview process so that it's all in the system, paperless. We can track all the way from job posting all the way to sending out interview invites, interview questionnaires, ratings, and then even the job offer, all throughout recruiting and hiring. So that allows HR to have one central place to get that information if needed. In absence management, this is huge. We used to only formally track in absence management our paraeducators and certified staff. Moving forward this year, we're very close and we're getting there. We're going to be tracking all of our absences for all 1,250 staff members, which means that we'll be going paperless. We won't be using PDF files or email or papers that need to be signed off manually. It'll just be approved by their supervisor, and it will go off onto payroll and they'll be able to track that information more live. Time and attendance is a new system that we're moving towards. It comes from Frontline as well. It's our time clock system, and it's the same vendor as absence management. So all the information that comes from absence management will then feed into time clock. Those who clock in and out will have that information all in one place, and then payroll can just export and import into Alio. Nice and streamlined, easy in, easy out.
If I could just elaborate on one point that Mrs. Poon made.
Okay.
Did you win a cruise?
Zaya?
Thank you.
Okay.
So we've always tracked all absences for all staff. We've just not always done it paperless within one system. And so I didn't want there to be confusion that we were only tracking absences for certified staff and paraeducators. We just did it through multiple systems, and now it's streamlined into one system.
Thank you. All right, so that's our staff. Now the final piece is inventory and help desk. So I'm going to ask you one more question. You now know how many students we have. You know how many staff we have. How many technology assets do we have? Now assets meaning devices, monitors, boards, adapters, servers, printers.
No.
Yes, we do. What do you say no?
So if you could put in your guess of how many devices you
No
think we
idea.
have in our district.
Do we get a prize if we're close?
We'll see.
Okay, cheers, thanks, Jeff.
I want to know the prize we got for being close on the
Yeah, we were close on the first one.
It was anonymous, so I don't know
I'm
who
just-
submitted. Sorry.
I'm plugging in the number.
All right, so let's take a look at our responses. We have guesses ranging from 4,000. Well, that just changed. I wonder why. And it
didn't like
changed
my
again.
She didn't like my
Oh
answer.
my goodness. All right, so it's generally around, we have guesses from 8,900 to 25,000 devices. Okay? Well, here's the weighted answer. This current school year, have 17,000 devices in our district. And that compared
Why
to
18,000?
17.
17, Zaya.
He's saying he had 18. He
Oh,
At 18.
oh, okay.
Oh, good
he just
guess,
wants
Zaya.
to telephone in his inner genius.
Phone a friend.
So that's very different from 2019-20 school year before COVID when we had 6,000 devices. So we've added a lot. We do have a lot of incoming that we're trading out. So this is an ever-moving number. So actual active devices, I don't really have an actual number for you because some of those are getting rotated out and then eventually will get recycled. But it's all devices that our tech department need to handle and manage and take care of.
I'm a little blown away with the number.
Yeah, so me
You know, it was, 6,500 students and roughly 1,500
Yeah.
staff.
It's a lot.
Everybody has 2 units or 2
So it's not just like a physical laptop that we're talking about. We have servers servers and switches that are in those back closets that Tyler is going to talk about later. Those are all asset managed because we need to make sure that when they get old, that they get replaced. We also have smart boards and projectors. Those are all assets. Those are all, it's not
Then-
just
then-
physical
then it
devices.
was a quick, a trick question that you gave us.
What?
Talking about, you know, the student.
So that's
laptop.
why I tried to clarify in the question that assets, it's not devices, it's technology assets. And that includes a broad amount of things.
You never said we had to read that.
Mr. Darrenowski is giving you a hard
all
time.
right.
We thought we won over there.
Yes, you did win. You did win.
I think I'm hearing 7th grade Dave talk right now. Like, I didn't know I had to read the question.
I forgot I was done.
And Zaya won, so.
So with all of these devices that we have, our department needs a very robust system that will help us keep track and make sure that we're taking in the right device and giving out the correct device and assigning it to the correct person all at the same time, while also helping all the teachers make sure their device is working. So we have a new system it's just called Asset Management. It's through Frontline, and it allows us to do just those things. When there's devices that are broken, we can generate invoices and automatically send that out to either the families or staff members if there needs to be any money collected for that. With our asset management system comes the help desk system as well. It's a new system that will allow us to tag devices as tickets come through. So if we need to find out if there's a history on that device that constantly gets broken, or if is it a history on the person that is constantly breaking a device, that will help us also keep track of that information. One great thing that we're excited about as well is that we're going to collaborate with the operations department to put in their work order tickets through our system as well. This will allow us to also, for bigger projects, collaborate and kind of streamline all of those steps between our two departments. So for example, a smart board installation, maintenance would get a work order to install the smart board. Once they've closed out their part of the ticket, our department would pick that up, configure the device, make sure it's all set and ready for the teacher, and then we can close out the ticket. And now both departments have worked side by side, and we can track how long it took and who worked on it and all that information. So, and that's inventory and help desk. And here we have Tyler.
So after that fun presentation, I'll be talking about network and infrastructure. So a nice dry topic, but I'll try and keep things light. I'm going to be talking about, I guess, in kind of 3 different sections. We'll be talking about where we were in 2019, what we've done since then, and where we plan to go in the future. And along with that, we'll talk about the 5-year plan that we've been creating. So one of the issues identified a few years back was the network stability. And this was because the network was grown organically. It was grown throughout many small projects, so it was not always reliable. And then adding to that, the number of devices that we've added the last few years really brought some of that to light. So what the team has done over the last 2 years or so is we've increased the number of Wi-Fi access points to help create Wi-Fi for more devices and handle more devices. And we've also changed the main switch that all the traffic flows in and out of the district to, so it can handle and manage that traffic better. Another thing that we noticed was security. I mean, security is all over the news. Ransomware, districts are getting hit, so it's really important. So as everyone probably knows on the board, last year we introduced 2-factor authentication. That has done a very good job of securing our emails and our staff, and it was a requirement from the insurance company for cybersecurity insurance. Additional to that, we introduced the secure print. We utilized the badging system that we use for the doors, and that has done 2 things. It has secured the printing, so if someone prints something, it doesn't just go to the printer and some sensitive information is sitting there. It waits till the person gets there. And the additional benefit of that is when the person gets there, they push the button to print it, there's not waste. Because sometimes people would print something and then forget about it because they get busy and walking over get stopped. So it's helping the security aspect and also save some of the paper and ink and toner. Another thing we've worked on for security is the firewall. We've made sure that we've put in monitoring systems, and we've been keeping it up to date and with the latest signatures. Additionally, on the devices, we've been pushing out antivirus to push the latest and most important patches out to the devices. And additionally, we added ransomware protection. This will help automatically detect ransomware and stop it in its tracks. So it's a very beneficial product. So for the future, we want to strengthen the network backbone. So the switches, I would say, are like traffic lights. They kind of move the traffic along and negotiate it. And the fiber would be more like we're adding lanes. So the better fiber, there's more room for the things to move back and forth. So we did a project, I think, in 2019 at the high school to increase the fiber. So that's been working very well, but we need to future-proof the other schools as well. So those fibers are running on the older system, where we need to think about that going forward in the future. And with security, we want to expand the ransomware protection. Just do everything we can because of how critical that is right now. And then also put more advanced monitoring out there. So another issue identified was the aging equipment. Again, since the environment grew organically over time, things were purchased from a long, wide range of time frame. So the Wi-Fi access points, the projectors, and the smart boards were aging. So it makes it tough for our teachers to be able to teach the students, and it causes them some heartache when trying to do things. The servers and the switches were also aging as well. So what we did for that aspect is we moved critical servers to the cloud. So PowerSchool is in the cloud now, which helps with the uptime, and as Jess alluded to, how critical that is. So that helped for that, and the backups we also moved to the cloud as well. So we have backups on site and backups in the cloud for better disaster recovery. Also, we have aging laptops, another pain point for the teachers. So the staff sometimes have slow computers that don't seem to kind of project as well, and it causes our staff our tech staff to force to harvest parts from other devices, just because they're older and the parts aren't sold anymore, and things along those lines as far as what we have in the budget and everything. So getting newer devices in the staff's hands is important for the students as well. And lastly, the municipal center video quality. It's okay, but it's still standard definition. As you heard the mics tonight, they're kind of bouncing in and out. So we really, along with RIT, we've been working on getting a grant through the PEG-PISA grant, the PURA fund, and in association with the town, we're going to plan on redoing this over the summer, getting new cameras, new microphones, new streaming equipment to better show the town everything at home in streaming with the environment we're in these days. Additionally, we went after grants for the ECF. That was to get teacher laptops and to help learning at home, along with student Chromebooks. So that really has helped us pay for that. So the question becomes, with the 5-year plan, how do we continue paying for that in the future, 5 years, 7 years from now? Because that funding will not be there. So that's going to be the tricky thing. So we created the plan. We'll have to figure out how the operational budget works. Also, we have the Apple lease that everyone's aware of. Will we expand that? How will we utilize that? But we're going to make sure we continue applying for grants. There's another round of ECF that we just put out today, actually. So we're applying for more devices for next year. We'll continue to use E-rate to take 50% off of our devices that are E-rateable. And we'll go for any additional grants we can find, like the PEG-PISA grant. And also, we're going to try to move cloud-based because our footprint in the environment at the school system will be smaller, so that helps everything with not only uptime, it also helps with the price of the operation. So other things we found were configurations. We talk about the cloud. The way we were configured, we were like 1 foot in the cloud, 1 foot not in the cloud, and the way it was being run was on like a monthly basis. So we overhauled that because there were outages because of it. So we've removed from that, and now we're on a nice constant stream of access to the cloud. Also, with this district this size, you really get a school-based mindset because it's just too big of a footprint, and everyone's too busy because you saw how many devices we have, and we saw how many techs we have. They're very busy. So it naturally creates the difficultness for streamlining the thought processes and things like that, so silos get created. So we've really been working to break that down, having more meetings, having more virtual meetings to kind of get the most out of the tools that we have. And also, we're trying to maximize configurations and processes that we have to automatically deploy things, because when you have to deploy, I mean, I know we said 17,000 assets, but we have at least 7,000 devices at the Chromebook level, and we have 3,000 roughly. This is all rough estimates for staff devices. So trying to manage that hands-on device doesn't really work. So we're really trying our best to automate things like that. So in the future, we're going to continue to act on that and maximize that, utilize all the software we can, and then get better devices into the system. So another thing that kind of went along with the silo school-based mindset was there was a high turnover rate. So with a high turnover rate, you get things that person A, who isn't here anymore, worked on, and now person B has to come along and try and figure out what was being done. So one of the main reasons that we had a lot of high turnover was the hourly pay. So one of the things we've done is we've increased the hourly pay to make that job more desirable and make people with a better mindset. So that has really helped keep the team on a constant pace. And also we've been stressing the need of documentation. So this has really been beneficial. Also, as we talked about, with the increase of the assets from 6,000 3 years ago to now 17,000, and we didn't increase a number of people. We did restructure, but we still have the same amount of techs in the schools that we did 3 years ago. So it's been very time-consuming because of the repairs. The students, they're kids, you know, they break the devices, and the amount of time it takes to change the screen, to update it, to change a keyboard, to fix the internals, it's very time-consuming for the techs, especially with that many assets out there. So we've kind of reassigned the district, and that's kind of helped smooth everything out, and it's getting people to see A, B, or C in different aspects of the district, and it helps cross-training as well. So in the future, we're going to request additional tech assistance to help out with the amount of devices we have in the network. And also, Rebecca has help right now from a one-year position that has really been beneficial for the district in helping the teachers from the instructional technology specialist area. So we're going to be trying to get both of those positions secured. So lastly, I'd like to ask you to put in order what you think is the most critical aspect from 1 to 5. 1 being the most critical.
I would say. Oh, thanks, Mr. Happy. Okay, do the rest for us. I think this is I think staff devices is number 1.
Can I ask while my partner here is putting the numbers in? I know you have the Tech Thursday, you have the virtual meetings. How are they working out with staff doing that?
So it's kind of been hit or miss. Like, it really hasn't gotten the legs, mostly miss. But what we're doing is we're kind of rethinking it with the help of the tech department. They've kind of thought of different ways to get around it, like maybe have like an office hours type setting where the teachers and staff can come down and chat about things, because just trying to get the awareness out there. Like, one of the ones that I was doing, and I actually recorded it so at least it can be, you know, presented and rewatched, it was about email security. So like, that's important for us, for, you know, the security in the district, but it's also important for anyone in their personal life too. 'Cause, you know, we wouldn't want them doing things like bank account information, social security information, and giving that away. So we're trying to rethink how we're doing it. In the fall, I think we'll do it a little differently.
Okay.
Because we definitely want, I know with the amount of PD that is required and the lack of time, I know it's very hard to get tech PD. So we're just trying to get creative with it.
No, because it sounded like a great idea for somebody like me who's looking for the mouse that we don't have here, but that's besides the point. But it just sounded like a good idea, and if you had a library of, you know, frequently asked questions, or, you know, like a YouTube channel almost.
The team is working on that, and
Yeah.
I keep talking about the AV, but Rit is working on the on creating videos and things like that, and kind of compiling everything and putting it centralized. So we're hoping to do a lot of that for the fall.
Okay, thanks.
I'm done.
Are you done? Oh, yeah, she's done.
Okay, so 5 to 7.
Do I have to agree with you?
You do.
Well, it's hard to see.
Okay.
It looks
agree
like
with you.
there's a little bit all over. Let's go. So it was kind of a trick question, like with the asset one. In the end, almost everything is important, because it depends on the person you're talking to. If you're talking to the staff member, their device and their projector is the most important. If you're talking to the student, their Chromebook is the most important. If you're talking to me or the team, the access points, the servers, the switches are most important. That's what we see and we work with. So it's very difficult to try and navigate that. One of the things that was kind of brought to our attention is the Chromebooks. They have a 3-year current average age. I do know that we have gotten a lot of influx of Chromebooks, but we had a lot of older ones. And unfortunately, the older ones, the way Chrome's set up, they just become obsolete after 5 years. Like there's no like pushing. It's almost 5 or 6 years. So there's no like getting more out of the device. It has to be done. So it's like, how do you build the budget for that? And we're talking about how we're going to build an operational budget, like I talked before, and the Apple lease. We need to maximize E-rate, and then also try for all the grants we can. And the way I wrote it, we wanted to make sure that we didn't come here in front of you and look like we're looking for the slickest tech, the industry standard, because we know we're a public sector. We know the funding is tight. So we kind of created a comfortable life use and hit like a nice medium number where it's not too old, it's not cutting edge, it's good enough to do the job, and the teachers don't have to have a tough time. So we just wanted to make sure that when we come with these numbers that we're not going for the top of the line. And lastly, the reason we blocked out those 3 is because those are critical items. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't really publicly release the age of them, good, bad, or indifferent. And we just wanted, if you want to know, I will be glad to sit down and talk about it off the record. Okay. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Tyler. So I'm Rebecca Savicle. I'm the digital learning coordinator for the district, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about where we've been also. This is my 6th year in Southington, and we've had a lot of changes. The last time I was here speaking to you was in December of 2019. And at that time, I asked 2 things to improve the technology usage in the district. The first one was to increase the amount of professional development time targeted specifically towards technology. Due to what happened to us in March of 2020 and the asynchronous and synchronous learning that happened, we provided 187 hours of targeted PD during those 3 months. That was a lot. My second ask was to increase the number of available student devices so that teachers could plan on reliable access to technology in their classrooms. We've purchased more than 6,000 new student devices and have guaranteed a ratio of 1-to-1 in grades K through 12. So I'm going to be more careful from now on what I ask for when I come to you guys.
Okay.
Our instructional technology goals to increase the teacher and staff input regarding the technology use, what's used and how it's used in the classroom, awareness and professional development. But we look at all of these goals through 2 questions. We ask, does the technology increase the efficiency for the teacher, which leads to more time for them to engage in the really impactful teaching and learning in the classroom? Or does it create a deeper learning opportunity for students, opening up opportunities that wouldn't normally be available? Things like virtual field trips, where students can go in and tour the inside of a pyramid, where guest speakers can come in. We can have somebody from NASA come and speak to a group of students, and we wouldn't have had those opportunities in the past. To achieve those goals, we have an instructional technology committee, and this is made up of teachers, library media specialists, and administrators in the district, and they provide input on professional development topics. The time, day, and location of PD, one of the things you were asking about with the Tech Thursday. The difficulty with the way we did that is that it was outside of contract time. It's not that teachers aren't interested, it's that they have an awful lot going on, and they need to get home to families after the end of the workday. So how do we deliver that effectively? How do we use the current technology, and what are some issues surrounding that, and how can we work with the team and the department to solve those issues? And then a bulk of what we talk about are best practices. What does blended learning, now that we're 100% back in person and we have 6,000 student devices, 6,400 student devices in the district, what does that look like, and what does that mean for the classroom? So we've been using a lot of tools so far, and these are all instructional tools that I wanted to highlight, things that we use to engage students and make sure that we're not just standing and delivering a lot of information. I'm going to do one more. This is a tool called Padlet. So if you would click on the link that says Brainstorming Instructional Technology, it's going to open up a new tab for you. And this tool is a brainstorming and idea generation tool for students and teachers to organize their thoughts. So we have two different topics here. You can add your thoughts under each topic by clicking on the little plus sign. So the two topics are, what are your goals for technology in the classroom? And what is one tool that you may have heard of that we are currently using?
Turn on my flashlight so I can see the keyboard.
It's a mess, my father.
He's having fun with Mrs. Carney.
Our goal is to
Every student has a
This is one that when you're done, you're going to click publish.
Enhance our lessons or something like that.
Say what?
What's the one on YouTube that is being used in the classroom? Why is everybody laughing at us?
You might be able to see that most of the answers in this are anonymous, but when I just added one, it had my name on it. When teachers use this in the classroom, depending on their purpose, but most often they're going to have students with their names, and they're going to be able to gauge some student interest, student readiness for learning, or where they're at for understanding the material that's been presented. So they would use it not only as a brainstorming tool, but also as a formative assessment tool. As we did with a couple of the other tools, to return to the presentation, you would click on the tab along the top that says presentation session. You don't even have to close anything, just click on that other tab.
God, what?
I actually called that today.
Mr. Radancy told me
I
that
called
was
that
going
today.
to happen.
Said Terry's gonna want to know what a tab is.
He warned me.
No comment.
One of the things that we've talked a lot about is the not only the growth of student devices, but the growth of the instructional technology tools. Somebody in the budget workshops reminded me that my budget has grown by about 4 times since I started here. And I want to give you an idea of what we're doing with all of that and how we're leveraging the different tools. So the first subject area is English Language Arts. One of the state requirements is to provide a benchmarking tool which tells us how students are doing, whether they're progressing on grade level, and if we determine that they're not, then we can start to provide intervention strategies to bring them up to grade level. So in ELA, that tool is called STAR. And then the other tools on this slide are intervention strategies, where we can help teachers provide those differentiated tools for students to practice their English language arts to bring them up to grade level. In math, the tool we use for benchmarking purposes is iReady, and we also use iReady for most of our intervention strategies, especially at the middle school. In science and social studies, science, we have some online tools that provide access to virtual labs. They provide different kinds of calculations and interactive slides and strategies. And the Mystery Science is our K-12, or excuse me, our K-5 science database. Social studies, we have News ELA, Info-Based Learning, and ProQuest databases, which are all curated databases that are specific to the content area in the subjects that we're teaching in social studies.
How do you find these? I mean, how do you?
Well,
there seems to be so many. You know, you get.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get.
One of the things that happened during COVID was that every one of the vendors said, hey, we know you're in a tough spot right now, and we'll let you use our product for free. And that was awesome until they were like, hey, COVID's over now and you can't use it for free anymore. So like we became aware of an awful lot of tools. And so this year it was part of those two questions, right? Does this tool match our curriculum? Does it provide an efficiency for teachers? And does it create a deeper learning opportunity? So we're really looking at taking that range that exploded over the last 2 years and culling it into the pieces that are most impactful for our district. But it is a lot.
I was going to say, it must be an incredible amount of work to go through all those and to check to see if it fits the criteria that you're looking for.
Certainly, the other curriculum coordinators play a huge role in that, in aligning tools with our curriculum, and then our teacher leaders are really the ones that are telling us this is a great opportunity for kids, or this is really not. This is a misalignment for us, and we're not seeing the value. So we really rely on the instructional technology committee, and those teacher leaders, and then the curriculum coordinators. Other subject areas that are specific, we have some programs at the high school, Art and Project Lead the Way, that require very specific software to teach those programs. And then in music and world language, to do digital music or to have students in world languages be able to practice fluency, hear, and repeat back. Those are some of the other software tools that we use.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Zaya.
So, Rebecca, those costs that were on the previous page, are those annual costs or is that a one-time expense?
Where the costs are indicated, those are annual charges.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So it's time for another check-in to test for your understanding. This tool we've been using is called Pear Deck. This is a tool that pairs with our Google Slides, and it gives formative data for teachers on how they're doing with student understanding and where they need to reteach. So, which of the following was the benchmark tool that we use for math in grades K through 8? Oh.
Can you go back a couple slides?
We're guessing.
No, Zaya, she can't.
Paying attention.
Are we paying attention?
Are you paying attention?
Would you pick?
Oh, look at my class of all-stars. I'm so proud of you.
Aren't we good? Aren't we good?
Except for that one, and we're just not going to talk about it.
That's this one right here.
This is Carmody.
All right.
Answer.
The answer was I ready.
I ready.
What is it?
I ready.
I'm ready for the answer.
Ready for the end. I'm coming to the end, I promise.
Oh my God.
All right, so a couple of these systems where we talk about efficiencies, a lot of these are collaborative works that we do with Jessica, or we work with Tyler, or we work with the buildings, but ClassLink, our single sign-on for over 60 digital tools. Imagine trying to get a whole classroom logged in to the same website, get to the same place, and then imagine it's a group of first graders. That can take a whole lot of instructional time, and it would actually detract from the deeper learning that we had planned. So we implemented this single sign-on solution to get students where they need to be quicker. And that dashboard, this is just a sample dashboard. It's unique to the grade level so that our first graders have the apps that they need, and they don't have it cluttered with the apps that would be more appropriate for a ninth grader.
That is super helpful, by the way. I have a first grade, a daughter in first grade, and that was a lifesaver.
Good, very good. I like the testimonials, thank you. Another tool we have is GoGuardian, which is our school and home filtering system. And one of the federal laws that we have to comply with is COPA, and that is to make sure that we protect our students from inappropriate material when they're online. And so we have to provide that on devices that we send home, so GoGuardian is our solution to that. If a student does access inappropriate content accidentally, at home, they would see a restricted website and it would redirect them. My Midwest accent comes out a little bit on this one. I say gaggle, but Tyler's going to call it gaggle. It's a monitoring and alert system that would let us know if a student is looking for potentially harmful material online. So this would warn us if students are looking for content related to school violence, nudity, self-harm, or suicidal ideation. These alerts come to the building administrators 24/7. So whenever a student might be engaging in this kind of research. The administrator then takes the alert, which looks like this. It gives them information on the file, why it was flagged, and then the administrator would follow up on that situation.
And I will tell you, I've got firsthand experience with this particular software, and I referenced it today in an email that I sent to you earlier relative to a story that the Hartford Courant is doing. But anytime a student mentions self-harm or violence or whatnot, it automatically, they are monitoring this 24/7. Even if a student writes about it within a document, not necessarily just searches it, it triggers it through the artificial intelligence mechanism, and then they begin notifying, and they will notify starting with the building level administrator right up to me. So I've received calls on weekends and evenings, 9:30 at night, that we have a student who's just mentioned self-harm online, and we begin contacting families. So the days of working 9 to 5 as an administrator, unfortunately, are, you're technically on call because if a student is in harm's way or if there's potential danger looming. And credit to the technology department for helping us implement this, but also a huge credit to the administrators who understand the value of it. And even though they may be home on their own time, if there's a safety concern for one of our students, they're on it. So it's been a super beneficial tool.
Great.
Good stuff.
I know Jessica mentioned Parent Square, our school and home communication tool, but it really does lend that efficiency to teachers. In the past, they would have to dig through PowerSchool in order to find parent communication. Parent Square does a validation check ahead of time, so we know which email addresses and phone numbers are valid phone numbers for when we send out our communication, so we're able to be proactive in making sure that our communication data is up to date. The other thing that it does for us is it'll allow parents to choose the language that they want their communication delivered in. And with the changing demographics of our community, that has become very important for us to be able to deliver those messages in a way that can be read by our families at home.
Parents can actually choose to receive a message in one of 122 different languages.
Wow.
So it's very accessible for families.
All right, you didn't think you were done with the interactive pieces. Using your mouse, just add a dot next to the tools that you saw value in for our district of the 4 that we just covered.
Mm-hmm. All of them.
All right, go ahead.
Which one you want to?
What color would you like?
Oh, do teal.
Teal. She like teal?
Teal. The Google monitoring and just the Google monitoring system.
Oh, see that. Okay. Can we only pick one?
The daily announcements.
Tools.
Oh, tools. So that's an S.
I can help you with the time.
I don't use.
You can choose to have it as a digest.
You do, because
which means all your notifications would come in at 5 o'clock.
You're so
rather than
clever.
7
I'm really
o'clock in the
not.
morning.
Yes, you are. You're
No,
doing
I'm
great.
really
Now put one next to Parent Square, please.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and show your responses.
All right. Who's the wise guy with the circle? Come on.
Extra points for the circling.
That would be. Is that you?
That would be me.
Oh, that show off.
So any of those that you guys didn't select, I'm going to visit with you later about why I think they're important.
Did we win?
Yes, you
I
won,
have to
Terry.
qualify that. My fingers don't move as fast, and I'm used to a mouse, not a pad.
Thank you.
He doesn't want to stay after.
Please don't keep me after. All right.
Okay.
And just as the instruction management pieces, these are some tools that I'm not able to necessarily demonstrate tonight. We have a data warehouse that houses all of our student achievement data, and this is a way for us to make sure that our teachers are able to differentiate instruction appropriately to the readiness level of our students. It also tracks all of our intervention programs and helps us screen for potential students who need to be referred for intervention. We have a curriculum warehouse that houses all of our curriculum units after they go through the curriculum instruction and they get approved for circulation. This is one of the requirements of NEASC, that we have a digital platform for all of our curriculum, and that it be housed in a public way. And then we have the smart online tool of suites, which is a smart online suite of tools, for our smart boards. Now you're going to see that there are only 101 teacher licenses. The smart board has a free suite of tools, but some of our teachers are just really rock stars when it comes to utilizing those interactive boards, and they need some of those more advanced tools, and we provide those to them. Instructional tools, we've used Pear Deck tonight. That's a formative assessment tool in Google Slides. We used Padlet as an online discussion tool and idea generation and organization. We used Kami, that was the one where you used your text to add some efficiencies. Kami started out as a PDF editor, as a very quick way for us to get worksheets converted to digital so that students could still do the material. But it has quickly become a very interactive tool that provides all sorts of opportunities. It even does text-to-speech right within, so we don't have to go through the process of converting a PDF. It will do that for us automatically. And the last one is Canvas, and I've talked to the board before about Canvas. This is our learning management system for grades 6 through 12. And it's like the step up from Google Classroom and what it offers us. It's centrally managed, which means it integrates with PowerSchool, and we manage teachers' rosters and students' rosters right through PowerSchool. Everything can be shared with colleagues, so if I create a quiz and I want to share it with all of my 6th grade science colleagues, I can do that. And then it can be reused from year to year. So once I develop those tools, I'm able to carry them forward. It's a common platform so that students are having a similar experience from classroom to classroom, but it can be customized for the individual needs of each teacher. It has an internal email system that communicates with teachers and students. A custom calendar, which creates a to-do list for students so that they know what assignments are due and what is their priority. And all quizzes and tests built in Canvas can be automatically scored. I could talk about Canvas in my sleep, so I got to skip past my notes there. Some other tools that I wasn't able to show you, but Edpuzzle is a formative assessment for videos. Teachers can take videos, strategically place questions in them, and then gauge student understanding that way. This does a couple of things. It gives them the information they need about students watching that video. It also ensures that the student watched the video and didn't press play and walk away while they were doing their homework. Not that any of them would do that. PebbleGo and BrainPop are elementary leveled research databases. So not only are they content curated databases, but they are also leveled towards our youngest readers. WeVideo is a video production online tool which replaced iMovie when we transitioned to the Chromebooks and away from the Macs at the middle schools. And then, of course, we have library services and databases like Follett that just manage our library collections. And that's all I have for you. Do you guys have any questions for the three of us?
Can we make comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have some comments. May I speak?
Well, Mr. Darrenowski had his hand up first, so.
You're gonna go first, can I go? You messed up when you did not do the right thing over here. Thank you. It was very informative. We've come a long way. I don't even know how I could begin to thank the technology department in the Southington school system because I was probably your best student. Would you agree?
Yes.
There's no comments back there. Okay. But it's amazing to me. I'm thinking about being in the classroom now, okay? And I heard, I don't know which one said, you know, you could virtually bring in a speaker. I was a history teacher, and I could bring somebody in virtually. It would be wonderful if I could learn how to use it. You know, I mean, that would, wonderful stuff. You've done a wonderful job. You've been very helpful. I'm so proud of all the work you've done. I'm bothered by the expense. I mean, I want to be very honest with you. It is expensive. I hope that the grants come through because it's a lot of money, but so worth it. So thank you so much. Thank you. Personally, I thank you tremendously.
Mr. Darrenowski?
I don't want to take all the credit for all the stuff that we did here.
You did not take it.
I had my mentor here. The cost associated with each of those software packages, is that something that we currently have that we're using in the system?
All of those tools are current tools in the district.
Right.
Okay. Do you know what the total cost of that is?
I do.
Do I have to ask another question?
The current instructional technology budget is $413,000.
Money well spent.
Yes. Thank you. Great job.
So just, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So on that cost topic, do we do it year to year, or do we have agreements for like a 3 to 5 year type of program with them?
For the instructional technology, where we're able to sign those types of agreements to achieve cost savings, we do. Only the ones where maybe we're in a pilot or a review process where we wouldn't look at committing ourselves to that many years. So as far as my tools, the instructional technology tools, we try to achieve those cost savings. I think you have some too, right?
Yeah, so.
Stand in the microphone.
Oh, sorry. So we've been talking in our meetings just how to recession-proof essentially. So one of the things we're gonna try and do is extend things that we can the best. Like when our mobile management system, we have a 5-year agreement. So for everything we do, we're trying to get longer agreements for access point licensing, switch licensing. We're trying to extend those as long as we can because we know, what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. Things might skyrocket. So getting that price locked in is definitely something we try to do.
I can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'll say the same thing everybody else has already said. Awesome presentation. Absolutely appreciate it. First of all, I got 2 children that are in elementary school, and they use iReady and they use Raz Kids, and they love it. And so seeing how quickly they've been able to adapt to digital technology and watching how fast they've kind of come along with it, it's been remarkable. So that just speaks to what you guys have provided, and then likewise what the instructors are able to also implement in the classroom. So I do appreciate that. Kind of following up, I was one of the ones during the budget workshop who brought up the increase in what we've seen here. I think it's very important that we continue to advance ourselves in digital technology. I think it's setting up our students and our children for 21st century, right? When they go in the workforce, some students aren't going to go right to college, and they're going to walk into a workshop and they're going to have, these are going to be the platforms that they're going to have to use. I like to see Canvas right now, right? That's something that you see in all the university systems. So these are all amazing. I think the challenge will be is that we're going to have to continue to look for opportunities to find those efficiencies, to continue to be able to fund these projects and try to continue to expand what we're able to do. So as we look at this 5-year plan and we start looking further, let's continue to look for those efficiencies where we can. So, but thank you very much. This was great.
Dawn? All set. Zaya, did you want to say anything?
I do. I just want to say and I agree with what everybody just said. If you look at where we were a few years ago to where we are now in terms of technology, what it needs to do in the classroom, we need this stuff, and it is money well spent. I think it's important, and I'm really excited that you came and you made this presentation. It was so comprehensive, and it explained a lot of the things that we've been hearing about, but now we've actually been able to see it in a little bit more detail. I think getting this information out to the community, showing them the types of systems that have been brought in that are being used to educate our students, it is money well spent, and we need to make sure people understand that. So thank you very much for doing this, and I think keep trumpeting this because people need to know what's going on, what we're doing in this district.
Thank you, Zaya. I'm going to echo that. To see the jump, and be careful what you wish for, in 2019 till now, the jump in devices and is just absolutely amazing. But it's money well spent that we need to do to keep our students where they are, to promote them for the 21st century skills that they're all going to need. So I thank you for the presentation, which, you know, people said, oh, it's a technology presentation, and you first think, oh, this is going to be great. It really was. It was so informative. You did a great job, and I thank you for that. And keep up the good work. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Darrenowski.
I've got one thing. You three did a phenomenal job. I have to agree with everyone. Mr. Campbell.
Whoops.
I thought I was going to let you get away with this. How are we doing with the audio up at the high school? Is that now working adequately?
Well, he's in charge, you know.
The high school auditorium is complete with a whole new lighting system. We went from regular stage lighting with like bulbs that created a lot of heat and everything to LED lighting. So it gives you savings with your air conditioning, your HVAC. It also gives you more flexibility where each light you can change the colors, so it adds more dramatic effect to the stage shows, and a brand new sound system, soup to nuts. Right. So yes.
I'm more concerned with the sound system. I want to make absolutely
understood.
sure that we don't have that.
Yes. So if you're up
I'm
for
never
a
gonna
board
let you
chair again, and
I'm on the board.
I understand.
I'm going to bring this up. Nobody else knows what we're talking about.
No. But
Okay,
you and I,
that's all right,
we're
that's
in
all right.
cahoots.
Tell us.
Thank
You're
you
not
all.
gonna
Thank
tell
you
us?
very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Clark, I just want to close out and thank the technology leadership team and the technology staff that are here this evening.
Yes, thank you.
And, you know, we acknowledge for sure that, you know, teachers and various other staff members were heroes throughout the pandemic, but we absolutely cannot forget about the technology staff.
Absolutely.
When many folks were working from home, they were in our schools waiting outside of buildings, handing devices to families, helping families access the network, delivering hotspots to homes. They worked the entire time all the way through, and they did a tremendous job, and we should be very proud of the staff that we have.
And all behind the scenes.
Yep.
All behind the scenes. So you don't pass out 6,000 devices.
And Mrs. Clark, they never refuse me when I come into the office.
Mrs. Carmody, you just have a way about you that they can't refuse you, but, okay. Thank you again. All right, moving along to item E, the operating budget, possible motion for an operating budget reallocation and adoption. Mr. Medancy.
Sure, myself and Mrs. Mellett are prepared to answer any questions you have this evening. We uploaded this into the portal on Tuesday once we were sure that the town council action Monday would allow this reallocation to be final. I think we could all agree with the level services budget. We would have loved to be fully funded. But I think given what we were dealt with and what we have here tonight, we're able to provide you a reallocation plan that has minimal impact on student outcomes, which is always our goal when creating a budget. So, but with that said, I know you have this in front of you, and some of you may not have had an opportunity to ask questions, so we're here.
I only got this today.
Okay.
And I haven't had time to really dive into it. I would like to move to postpone the discussion and action on this till the next board meeting, so I can have some time to compare this with some possible recommendations I would like to make out of our current budget that was submitted.
So could we, do you want to
Yeah,
table this?
I would like to table it
this
till the next
discussion?
meeting.
So that's a motion you're making?
Yeah, if you need a motion, I'd make that.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Do we have to take a vote on for tabling? Yes, we still have to vote on it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, do you have to vote on that?
To table it, yes.
Yes,
Yep.
to table it. Okay.
Is there a date that we have?
Yes.
Well, is there any discussion?
Oh, wait a second, let's,
Well,
let's have a
once there's a
discussion.
motion to table, there can't be discussion.
There's no discussion. He just has to.
Oh, he had a question.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think before,
The question was the date of the next meeting?
well, is there a timeline that this has to, like, what's the
I
response
said to the
time
next
for this?
meeting, yeah.
Oh, the next meeting, which is, do we have to,
I mean, typically it has been the second meeting in May.
Okay.
My hope was that since we had uploaded this to the portal on Tuesday, folks would have had a chance to review it and ask me any questions in advance. I mean, given that it's a level services budget and there's really not a lot in here in terms of what we could do with flexibility, it would have given the district 2 weeks lead time to start out with some of the other things that we usually do around this time of year in terms of staff allocation and staff assignments and whatnot. But if it's the board's prerogative to wait, we will wait.
So we'll be okay time-wise, right, doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
okay?
Do we
motion to
continue
table
with
it
the
so
vote?
Yep, we need to vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor, can we do the, we have to do it by a roll call. What was that?
My phone?
What was that?
Wasn't
Good
me.
grief, this
I
technology.
don't know why.
Major.
We have,
Why did that happen?
She needs some help here.
Lord above, can I
Her
please?
phone is talking to her.
Technology.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? You're ayeing, all right. Thank you. So moved.